Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar, which is part of webinar week. That's a complete lie, isn't it? It's Belbin week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll start in a couple of minutes, and we are joined by Ana Inés from Uruguay. So we're very excited to have an international feel to our webinars this week. We had Lindsay yesterday, obviously from North America, and we have Ana from Uruguay joining us today. So please do get yourself comfortable, get yourself a pen, a bit of paper. This will be recorded, so you will receive a recording afterwards. I always try and edit this first bit out, but if I forget, you just remember just to start it a few minutes in. As you do join us, please do come along and look at the chat and the comments and introduce yourself. Tell us where you are joining us from. We are having this is our second of the 3 webinars that we are hosting throughout the week as part of Belbin Week, celebrating the legacy of Meredith Belbin, who passed away earlier this year. He would have celebrated his 99th birthday tomorrow, hence the timing for Belbin Week. We were overwhelmed with the amount of messages of support earlier in the year, and we thought it would be wonderful to celebrate the work that Meredith and his team have done over the decades and celebrate it more formally. So we hope that you're enjoying all the posts. Please do check out the hashtag Belbin Week on LinkedIn. So as people join us, we can see we've got Gary. Hello, Gary, lovely to see you, who is in a now sunny Dorset. I'm just looking out the window here. We're in Cambridge. It's a bit grey and miserable. We'll see what it's like in Uruguay in a sec. Hi, Marie from the Netherlands. Although I pronounced your name horribly incorrectly, I do apologise. We have Peter again from Holland. And Beata, lovely to see you. Joining from a cold and rainy Cape Town in South Africa. You've got Albert with you as well. Wonderful to see you. Thank you. There's a little bit of me that always gets quite, it shouldn't do because it's awful, isn't it? But it's normally lovely weather in South Africa when it's cold here. So to hear it's cold there, it fills me with a little bit of joy is the wrong word, but I've got a smile on my face. Okay, so please introduce yourself as we join. We'll be starting in about a minute. So please introduce yourselves. And we are live streaming on LinkedIn. We're also on StreamYard, which is our preferred platform. So people may be on LinkedIn, you may be on StreamYard, you may also be on YouTube, which are the social channels that we have here at Belbin. So wherever you're joining us from, it's lovely to meet you. Right. Okay, got to learn not to get too distracted by things. Oh, hello, Nigel. Hi there, lovely to see you from Hampshire. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, it is officially 3:30, so it is officially time for me to start this webinar where we will be talking about optimizing talent in organizations with Belbin. And I am absolutely delighted to be joined today by Ana Inés, because Ana has got a wealth of talent and experience that she would love to share with the Belbin community. I'm just going to give you a little bit more about Ana. Ana's actually a psychologist. She's got a background in psychology and in HR and a specialization in search, evaluation and development of work teams. She's passionate about promoting the growth of both organizations and the people that make them up. And she says that her commitment to innovation leads her to always be in search of new methodologies that promote effective communication and comprehensive development in the workplace. Now, since 2010, Ana has led Entrust. They're a firm specialised in talent attraction, selection and development. And their approach focuses on identifying and nurturing human potential, helping companies achieve their goals through highly efficient and committed teams. More importantly, or as importantly, Ana is also our distributor in Uruguay and has been accredited. We were trying to work this out for at least 12 years, maybe more, when Marianne, who is our LATAM distributor, went over to Mexico and ran an accreditation course. And now Ana is able to train others in Uruguay as well, all about the Belbin methodology and how to use it. So this is why I'm excited, is because this is somebody sharing things, not just from a book, not just learnt, not just reading it and regurgitating, but somebody who uses Belbin and other methodologies as well every single day. So we're delighted that you're joining us, Ana. Thank you so much. Before we start, actually, I'll just say that we tried to work out how best to do this webinar, didn't we? We've had conversations. We've got confused many times over the time differences, mainly my mistake. And we thought, how do we do this? Because there's so many examples. There's so many different stories that need to be told. And so we thought we'd do it in order of like a life cycle of somebody within an organization. So starting at the recruitment, looking at the onboarding, then looking at the internal recruitment, looking at the self-development, and then looking also at outplacement. But like Ana kept saying, it actually starts a bit earlier than that, because they're also doing some wonderful work with younger people using Belbin Get Set, which is the version of Belbin for those who don't have that much work experience. And we thought, well, do you know what we'll do? Let's start there. Let's start with the young people, and we're going to work our way around everything else. So I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to make your box a lot bigger on the screen. There you go, Ana. Over to you. Where do you start this journey? Tell us about Belbin and younger people. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jo. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. Well, first of all, sorry for my English. I'll try to do my best. I use Belbin in Spanish, but well, I try to if I don't get the words, maybe Jo can help me. We thought of this like an employee journey with Jo, and what I usually start with is with using Belbin in the university. I am a teacher in the university of personal branding or personal marketing is the name of the course. And what I try to do is like help young people to prepare them for their first jobs. The course has like 3 parts or 3 pillars. The first one is self-awareness. The second one is strategy, and the third one is visibility. How do they show themselves? And what I do there is first helping them to know themselves better, to make them aware of their strengths and their weaknesses, and then help them like to design a strategy in order to look for a job that will like fit to their own personality or their own capabilities and their own strengths. And that's why we use Belbin. We use Belbin Get Set, which is the model of Belbin, but used for young people. And what it helps them is to know themselves better, not because I have different students of different careers, for instance, engineering, business administration, accountant, psychology. But what matters here is what's the way or what's their contribution when they get to a job. So what we do is help them, make them aware of what are their main roles, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and prepare them for a job interview. One of the things that Get Set is very good is that it has a section that gives them tips in order to prepare for a job interview. They love this part of the report. And well, during the course, what we do is that they make their self-perception. They ask other observers to evaluate them, and then during the class I give them the report, and they prepare their CV and they prepare their job interviews with the help of Belbin Get Set.
That's wonderful. So you're giving them the language of being able to talk about their strengths, which isn't dependent upon the course that they are studying. It's got nothing to do with their function, their what will be on their business card eventually as a job title, but actually how they can promote themselves in terms of what they're bringing, the behaviours they're bringing to the team.
And what they always say is that after Belbin, they feel like much more confident of themselves. But for instance, if I have a student that studies, for instance, engineering or accountant, it's not the same to be a technical engineer that to maybe be a salesperson in an engineering company. And maybe when they know or they see what are these main skills and this on the way they can contribute better in their organization, they feel much more confident in order to go to an interview, and Belbin really prepares them for the job interview, and it's a very, very good tool to use it before they enter the labor market.
Wonderful. And it's wonderful to hear that the Get Set reports themselves are useful. They're having a language to be able to describe themselves, but also they're learning about teamwork, aren't they? And I think that's they're learning about themselves, but they're also, and that, as we call in the UK, as I'm sure is a global expression, that we're giving people transferable skills that they can transfer from higher education into the workplace.
Yes.
Wonderful. So you've helped young people right at the very beginning. You've helped them to be able to talk about their strengths. And you said, that it's been useful for them to use that when they're being interviewed for their first jobs. But talk to us a little bit about how you, as part of Entrust, as the managing partner, when you're working with organisations looking at their recruitment strategies, how have you gone about using Belbin as part of that initial process? Tell us more about that very first entry point into the organisation.
Great. Well, one of the things I really value about using Belbin in recruitment is that it helps us like moving out from the idea that one person that fits into one role or one position. No, there are like many ways of fitting into a position, and there's a lot of things that you have to take into account when you make a selection process. No, not just the person and the skills of the person, but you have to also take into account the characteristics of maybe is his manager, the characteristics of all the team that which he will be part of, the culture of the company, which is very, very important, because the culture of the company will like have a lot to do if this person goes along good or not in the organization. And what I think that it's rich about Belbin is that it helps us like think the recruitment or the fitting in a person into a role in this different way. No, there are many ways in which we can fit, and what we have to try is to look which will be better or which will be best suitable for a position. No? For instance, it's like a systemic perspective about the recruitment or the placement of the people in a company. No, and so we can have it taking account all these things. No, and what maybe can be good is that when we assess a person to enter an organization with the Belbin report, you can have a lot of elements that can predict in some way how is this person going to get along in the job. No, what is like his ways? What ways does he have to contribute into this position? No, maybe
no, absolutely. No, that's it. And I think what you're saying, recruitment isn't necessarily linear, is it? It's not a X, Y, Z. There are so many elements to recruitment. It's interesting that somebody's just said in the comments is where is the culture in Belbin? And what we're talking about when you're talking about the culture of the organisation is it's something that Meredith says, that very often you can't see a culture, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can sense it, can't you? And what you're sensing is those behaviours. And Belbin gives you that lens, doesn't it, to be able to describe the behaviour.
Yes, I always say that the culture is like the personality of the organization. It's something that maybe you can't touch it, you can see it, but you feel it. And there are like some roles that fit better or not within some culture, no? And that is very important. For instance, if I have a culture where there's a lot of team workers and when maybe they are not all so only task oriented, and maybe if you have someone that is totally different, maybe can fit very well and it can make very good changes, but it's good to know it. And you can tell the company, well, this person is different, but so you can like prepare and get the best of him, no?
I think that's really, really important, isn't it? You've got a culture add, so you're adding more to the same.
Yes.
Or you've got culture fit, which is more of the same. We've got culture add, which is looking at something slightly different. Both can be fine. You're not excluding or including, but what you're able to do is give people the understanding of that's what they're going to have to look for. We've worked with companies before that have been really high shaper coordinator cultures, very dominant cultures, very, they're there, you feel that presence, everybody's quite competitive. Do they want more of that? Or do they want somebody perhaps who's going to take it down a little bit more of a higher team worker? And that's good, but they need to know that. Otherwise, they will never be able to assimilate.
Yeah, you can prepare like both of them for this, no?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I think that is very good. And as we spoke the other day, Jo, you can prepare and give a feedback to the company and also to the candidate. About the team, these reports, and we send him and give him a feedback of the report, and it's very good because maybe the person is the one that is selected, but maybe not. And this feedback and this this gift of giving him the report is something that is like very good for them and very positive, and something that helps them to grow and to know themselves better. Okay.
Do you know, this is wonderful, especially in this whole world of AI at the moment, but you're giving that human element to the recruitment process. It's not just a no thank you. It is understanding, and feeding back to them to give them more information and ways to grow for their next position, their next interview. So you're able to do that. Have you got any specific experiences or sort of?
Well, I've been thinking now about some cases in which I have some clients, some companies that they love Belbin, and I usually work with them with a tool, and we have like a map of the group of the team, and maybe they tell me, well, if I recruit this candidate, how will he fit in the team? No, so we made the team roles circle and see how will he fit in there. No, and that is very good, and I usually use it there many times, and that's one of the reasons maybe a lot of customers and clients love Belbin, because they can not only see the person, but also see this systemic point of view, how will this person fit into the team, no?
Absolutely. And also how they'll fit with the manager,
yeah,
or the people they're managing. And it's not going to give you the definitive answers, but it's making you aware of and asking the right questions, isn't it? Because after the recruitment comes, that somebody's staying on with you, and it's all part of the onboarding process.
Yes.
So looking at so we've gone from recruitment. I mean, have you got any good stories about the recruitment that people who?
Well, I have a lot of stories. Let me think. Last year there was a CEO that was going to enter a company, and maybe when we are recruiting, when we are doing other kinds of recruiting, maybe we also do other kinds of interviews, and we also add other tests. For instance, I don't know, IQ tests. But if you are recruiting a general manager or a CEO, you can't put him an IQ test. But Belbin is a very, very good tool for this, because it's perceived by the candidate and by the company as a very good like added value. And last year we did a CEO for a company that was a very good candidate. He lived abroad in Europe, and he was entering this position here in Uruguay. And what we did was making him, he did the Belbin test, and the feedback was with the people that worked with him in the companies he worked in Europe. And all this feedback of these people were very important for me to know how was he seen by his teams, by his employees, by his customers, his managers. And the report, first of all, I gave that feedback to him, and he was like very, very enthusiastic about all the results of the test. But also it was a very good like onboarding or preparing for the onboarding process for the company, because they could like predict and know how was the managing style of the CEO, because he had all the qualifications. It was great, but how was he going to work? And they were prepared for this. And that was really great. And then I gave the feedback to the company, I gave feedback to the person, and then they had like a conversation with the report, and it was great. It was really great.
No, that's really good to hear, isn't it? Because Belbin measures behaviour, it measures the what we do, not necessarily the who we are. So with a lot of testings, you have the reports are based just on you. And you're doing that through your own lens. You're doing that, as Carol's pointed out, very much by that it could be the role that they're currently in.
Yeah.
So what we are looking for is that feedback from other people. We're looking what we call the observer assessments, which is just a tick list of words of people that you trust. And what they're doing is enforcing, they're validating the self. They're giving you that other lens of, I think I'm coming across this way. I think my contributions are this. And they're saying, yes, they are. Or actually, we see your strength elsewhere. So it's a great tool to validate, to make sure that it's not just based on, yeah, I'm great. And then you take ages trying to find that out later on. And interestingly, so Carol, Belbin was first.
It's not the same. Sorry, it's not the same if a lot of words you have in like cooperative, diplomatic, or maybe practical, efficient. The type of words they put is very important, and you can get those words also we use that report for the interview, because we can ask them, well, here you have the word, I don't know, 10 times the word enthusiastic. In what things do you think, or do you believe you are enthusiastic? Can you tell me an example? So the Belbin test helps you also to prepare a good interview based on competencies and on behaviors that can help you like know better and have like a more clear idea of how is this person going to contribute in the organization.
Yeah, no, and that's so invaluable. And to be able to use each part of the Belbin report to be able to inform the way that you're interviewing. And this is perhaps more for those people who have joined us who are already accredited. But what we can do as well is say, what type of team role strengths do they have? And I always remember Nigel Belbin, Meredith's son, who's now retired. His one of his top team roles was shaper. And so you made it go, oh, shaper. But actually his top word that was ticked by his observers was caring. So he was a shaper, but a very caring shaper. And again, that helps you to understand the way in which the contributions are being made.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've recruited this
also, which is the second role, because you can be a shaper and then a team worker also. Maybe the both as a high, very, very high. So that maybe he will be like very motivating and with a lot of energy, but also caring of the people. No, so the combination of the first roles is very important. Yeah.
It's so important, not because we're not just one thing, are we? We're a multitude of all 9. And just to say with Nigel, actually, team worker was number 9.
Yes.
But he was still caring.
Another thing that I'm thinking now, and also it's very important to see which are the lower ones, because for instance, if you want someone to come to an organization and innovate, and maybe he has the innovation roles, which are as a resource investigator and plant, very, very low. Maybe you have to check if there's someone who has who is innovative, I don't know how to say it in English, in the team, because if not, he will probably won't be able to innovate. But maybe if he can delegate this kind of things in his team, it will be okay. That's why I believe that this like systemic perspective is very good.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. I think it really is a systemic approach.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone through the recruitment, the importance of getting those observers to add that layer, using that richness of data to be able to inform and help the interviews, and also predict the fit within the team, the fit within the manager as well. We then talked a bit about, and you've touched on it a little bit there, about onboarding.
Yeah.
So they've started the job, they've signed the contract. What do you tend to do next?
Yes, well, many times we talked it the other day. Here, someone asked about what sometimes happens before when we are starting the recruitment process is that people in other kinds of jobs, they are working actually, and then it's very difficult for them to ask other peers or their managers to evaluate them or to observe them. So many times we can't use the Belbin at that stage, but yes, once they enter the company, and that's where we think that it's a very useful tool to use it in the onboarding process. The person's already hired, he's starting to already confirmed in the company, and as I said before, we there do the Belbin assessment, and the report is very, very useful to prepare the company and the person for the new job, like a soft landing. So first of all, because you can give the person a feedback, and they usually found it very useful, and also you can help the company to know, well, this will be the strength, this will be the weaknesses, and you have all the words that other observers have marked to this person, and that is very, very good. And another thing that is very good is the work styles, the part of the report that you combine the high roles in twos, and it gives the work styles. So these work styles are great to give a feedback to the company. These are these four are the contributions, or will be the contributions or the main contributions of this person, independently of the role. The role they are going to play in the organization. They're the contribution in the soft parts or the soft skills.
Wonderful. So for those that don't know, the page that Anna's talking about as part of the Belbin reports is when we look at those top four. Remember, we're not just one thing, those top 4 team roles, and look at them in combinations. For those of you who joined us yesterday for the webinar with Lindsay, we talk about those perhaps being your superpowers, ways you can articulate the ways that you like to work and the ways in which you should work. And it's really useful to share those with other people within the team, share them with managers or people that you are going to manage. It's a really useful page. Now, of course, when we talk about observers, people feeding back, they need to be people who know you well. They need to be people that, I use the word, loving critics, somebody who's prepared to give you honest feedback and whose feedback you trust.
Yes.
And normally it takes a while, doesn't it? About 3 months to get that feedback. So you wouldn't ask for that immediately in position, would you? You'd wait until they'd found their feet, everybody knew how they took their coffee, and then they would go along that process.
What we do there in onboarding is, first of all, they can ask their other colleagues or from their previous job to assess them, and maybe what we do is in 3 or 6 minutes later, you can add new observers, and that's very, very rich and very good.
Yeah, there's an argument, isn't there? I don't know if you've ever done this, that you can add observers really quickly.
Yeah.
Within the first 2 or 3 weeks, because you never know what first impression that you're giving.
Yes.
And of course, they haven't got to know you well enough. That feedback isn't necessarily going to be useful longer term, but if you're ever interested to know that first impression, ask for feedback a bit earlier. It's more of a personal interest, isn't it?
Yes.
So you So in other words, you're saying that Belbin starts right from the interview, then it goes towards the onboarding and then the general development of individuals. This is how you do that?
Yes. Also, maybe you want to talk it later. We have used it in internal recruitment. When we have, do you want to talk about that now?
Talk about that now, absolutely.
Yes, because it got to do with the onboarding and with the recruitment. Many times, what happens to us, and I believe that it's a very good tool for that. Organizations have maybe 2 or 3 candidates in order to consider for a position. For instance, I don't know, a department head, and there's 2 or 3 department heads, and then you have one management position that will be they will hire one in this internal recruitment. And many times, well, they have they both or the 3 of them have all the qualifications, not the technical qualifications, but they want to know which one will fit better into the managing position, no? And I think that here Belbin is a very good tool, because you have you can see the way that they will contribute in the position, and also you have the feedback of the observers. So maybe you can check how how's the perception of their co-workers if they were their managers, no? So for instance, last year we did this. It was a there were 2 people that were competing, I don't know if it's right the word, for a managing position. And it was a position, it was not just a manager, it was a position where they had to not only lead the teams, and also be good leaders, but they also had to deal with a very, very strong union, which in which, well, maybe they would not just have to negotiate, but maybe be firm with the ideas, and don't mind if they were not loved with the others. And also they had to work a lot with I don't know how to say it in English. They had to work a lot with other stakeholders, external stakeholders, just as institutions in government institutions and that kind of thing. So the people the person that was selected had to have a lot of skills that were not just managing a team. And what we did there, we did also a very exhaustive interview with the person, but with the Belbin, so we can ask and ask for examples with the report and with the words that they had marked, and it helps us a lot to explaining the company and the general manager what would be the managing style of each of them, no? And they were really impressed, because they told us, I can't believe you know so much about the candidates, more than us that have worked 10 years with them. Because really Belbin, and with all the observers evaluation, had a lot of information that was very, very useful. And it really helped us to make the decision of who they were going to hire. But one thing that was very good, it was not just, well, we hired this one, and what happens with the other one, no? Mm-hmm. And Belbin helped us to give him information and give him a very, very good feedback to the one that was not selected, in order to tell him the reasons of why did they choose the other person and not him, and also as a way of I don't know, make him aware of his characteristics, make him understand himself better, plan his career development, a lot of things that were very useful for this.
And I think that is I think it's a reflection perhaps of how well you work with your clients within Entrust and the work that you do. I think there's a reflection on you, Anna. But the case that what we're looking at is not something that's just stopped being used at recruitment. It then continued towards the onboarding, but then it is also part of those people's ongoing development. And so when that internal recruitment piece comes in, you're able to still use the lens and the language of Belbin to help the person, I should imagine, fit into their new role. Yeah. But also the person who wasn't successful is, instead of going, no, thanks very much, off you stay where you are, is giving them that feedback and understanding of as why.
Yeah.
And also with Belbin, we're looking at behavior. It's what we do, it's not who we are. So there's a lot of scope for change. There's a lot of scope for growth. There's a lot of scope for learning. So being able to highlight you didn't get the job because, and for somebody to go, oh, but that's just not, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. That's wonderful learning. As
That's
much
great.
as
Yes. Probably he won't be comfortable maybe in a job if he's for instance a team worker very high in this kind of position. So when he understands this, he likes says, well, this was not for me. Okay.
Absolutely. Or conversely, you could say, well, actually, I think I would have been good here, but obviously people aren't seeing those strengths in me. What do I need to do to develop, to grow, to get that experience? So if this came up next time, I might now be considered. It's that just awareness piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really, and again, it's quite systemic, the way that you're doing that. So, okay, so from young person to recruitment, to onboarding, to interviews and recruitment internally. What else? How else do you use Belbin as part of your role within Intrust and as Belbin Uruguay, obviously? How else do you help? Yeah.
Well, what I usually use a lot here in Uruguay is well, I guess it's self-awareness and also in team development. I usually make team development workshops where I work with teams, with different kind of teams, maybe management teams or natural teams, making maybe one day or 2 days or half a day workshops where we work in self-awareness and in feedback and in having a look of how is the team, which is the composition of the team, and making action plans in order to develop themselves. This kind of workshop is really great. They love it because it's not many times it happens that people say, well, let's make a teamwork session and they maybe, I don't know, play a game or do something. They go and I don't know, go outside and go canoeing and this is like a very hard workshop where I give them their reports. They usually observe each other. So they are all observed by themselves. No, they are all observers of all the members of the workshop. And during the session, I give them first I explain all the theory, the roles, what are the roles, the strengths, the weaknesses, the characteristics of each role, and some parts of the theory. Then I give them the reports to them, and I do some exercise in order to them to like look very, very to read the report, to understand the report, to understand each part of the report. And what I do after that is that I do like a feedback session. They show their reports, each of them show their report to the rest of the team, and they all give feedback to them. For instance, if they put a word, I don't know, challenging, you are challenging, well, in what things or what part of your work do I see that you are challenging? No, if I see that you are reliable, in what specific things do I see that you are reliable? And this helps a lot to people to identify which are the behaviors that they want to maybe extinguish a little bit, and those that they want to foster, no? And they also it's like a very respectful and positive way of giving feedback, and it is always an excellent experience. They many times we have companies that they are used to make feedback because they have many types of feedback, but Belbin gives like this common language and these words that helps them to have like very productive conversations and always positive, no, not always looking forward to development, to foster strength and not just looking at the weaknesses. And then what I do after that is in the afternoon, for instance, it's about morning, for instance, and in the afternoon, what we do is work on the team. I take like a big picture of the team role circle, and then when they then look at the circle, they say, wow, this is why we work in, this is why we are having these problems, or this is why what happens, such as anything, no? And then what I do is like a SWOT model. They make a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, of their team role circle, and then they like all together make action plans of the team action plans, which they propose with dates, with things, concrete things to do in order to develop as a team. And really, these kind of workshops are very, very useful and positive. And many times I do this workshop with managers, and then for instance, the commercial manager says, well, I want to do the same, but with my team of sales, or sales team, for instance. They usually love this kind of intervention, which has both things: self-awareness, feedback, and also the development of the team as a team. They usually like get this common language. Many times the clients of mine, they like print this circle and they have it on their office there, and they always have it there. As you, yes.
Yes, I'm just going to get one more in picture, actually. It's because it's such a useful way, isn't it, of visualizing. There you go. You see it a little bit better now. I'm trying to hide all my wires.
Yes.
But it's a great way of just seeing where the gaps are, the overlaps are. But I think what you've said, something there is really important, and I just want to capture that for a second. It's not just about the self-awareness. It's all about the team development. And I think this is quite crucial, is that very often people want just a team session and they do it once and they tick it. Everybody goes away with a little thing, oh, I'm a this or I'm a that, or that's not what really teamwork is about. Team is about not just individuals developing, but the teams developing too. And I think using that SWOT process is a great way of saying, well, okay, so this is our team. Where are the strengths? You know, here would be loads of ideas. Where are the weaknesses? Nobody's doing any work. So you start to get that language, don't you? And then it's a case of, well, so what? And it's that then, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to develop? How are we going to ensure that those gaps aren't going to capsize us as we go through the project? How are we going to develop people so that we're not all vying for one space? So I'm really curious.
That's okay. No, that it depends also when you do this SWOT model. That is very important. Is that it depends the strength or weaknesses of that team, or the characteristics of the team. It depends on the business, on what's the objective or the purpose of that team, because it's not the same if you're a commercial team or if you're an operations team, or if your company is a software factory, or it's or they sell containers, for instance, no, or retail. So in order to first, what I do is think on your business, in the purpose of your team, and then you can make this SWOT in order to is it if we don't have any innovation role, for instance, for our purpose, is it important or not? Maybe it is not important. No.
Yeah, we should never ever start to assess a team without first evaluating its purpose. What is it that the team is there to achieve? And also that changes, doesn't it? People, teams don't have one objective and that's the objective forever. It changes, it develops, and to therefore revisit this is really important. And that language of Belbin allows you to do that.
Yes.
I was going to ask you a question before. Do you find that the companies that you work with through your company and trust, do you find that those that really get the language and the understanding of that Belbin lens and the systemic approach, are they the ones that use it from start to finish? Once people get the language, do they want to use Belbin in more than just their team development? And they start saying, oh, could we use this in our recruitment? Could we use this elsewhere. Do you find that?
Not all, but some of them, yes.
Yes.
Some of them like it, and they also use the language, and they like all the time. I like making jokes with the roles and all kind of these. Others not so much, but yes, usually many times they try to or they love to. For instance, I did a workshop and we work with the team development, and then I'm going to do a recruitment, and they say I would like him to have a Belbin report because I want to know how is he in terms of Belbin team roles and how can he fit into our team. Yes.
Okay, so it's interesting. We're the same, is that we find some organisations, they just embrace the whole language of Belbin, and you find that it's used throughout, whereas others are very much, still put things in separate areas. Okay, so we've had young people, you've recruited somebody, you've got that feedback if they were CEO and were able to do so. If not, that feedback from others has come through the onboarding process, making people aware of not just the recruitment into the company, but the recruitment into the team. Who are they managing? You've then used it as that self-awareness piece, working with teams as well to make sure that you have the team development, and also then used as part of any internal recruitment. So what type of role do you need? And being able, I think the lovely bit is that human element, is the feeding back as whether or not somebody's been successful or not, still giving them that feedback to allow them to grow and develop whichever route that they are taking. The other thing we were talking about, honestly, I've got so many notes here, I don't really know where to keep starting from, but the other thing you were talking about was outplacement, something which nowadays, is really important for organisations to have a outplacement process. How do they approach this? Can you give us some experiences, some of your experiences of using Belbin in this situation?
Yes. Well, one of the services that we offer in Entrust is the outplacement services. If maybe there's someone here that doesn't know what an outplacement is when someone will be not working anymore in a company because he has been fired, maybe not because he's not working well, but many times because there's a downsizing or something happened. Many times the company, what he does is that they pay them an outplacement services to help the person in his transition, or helping them to find a new job of similar characteristics. And what we do in this process is like, we have many objectives. One of the first objective of this service is to give the person an emotional support, because many times they maybe worked a lot of years in that company and they suddenly are without a job, so we can help them and give them the emotional support. Then the second part is help them to make a strategy in order to find a new job. So in this strategy, it's very important to help them be aware of their contributions, of their work style, of their weaknesses, of their strengths, of the way they work, and how the other people see them. So in this stage, what we do is use the Belbin tool where the person makes his self assessment, and then he asks his ex-colleagues and managers and anyone to observe them. And that's why this report is very useful to help the person to be aware of how the working style and what kind of job he will be applying then. As the same as in recruitment, the working styles, the words that appear, all the parts of the report are very, very useful. See if their outer self-perception is similar or not with the observers. Maybe I think that I'm in a way and the other people see me in another different way. So working with this maybe difference, or why is that they maybe are not so self-aware, can help us help the person to find a new job, to be more critical in the good good way, and find a new job that can fit into but that fits into his work style. And then what we do is well, helping them to design their CV, their LinkedIn profile, the interview, etc. But the Belbin helps them prepare the interview, know the stuff better, prepare maybe that within the interview they ask you, well, tell me about what are your weaknesses. The Belbin gives you like the feedback of being aware of these things and can be more like comfortable or more sure, no, during the interviews.
Yeah, I also think when talking about weaknesses, Belbin gives you the language so that you're not saying the same as everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah, it gives you that uniqueness, doesn't it? If you can actually say, well, actually, people have told me that I am, and perhaps having one of those list B words of the observer assessments, and I ask them about it, and it's when this happens, and I've been able to do this. So it gives you that narrative, doesn't it?
Yes.
So
it also gives them like confidence in their unique value, no? Something like that.
Exactly that. So really, in a way, what you're doing is very similar right at the very beginning of the journey when you're working with those university students.
Yeah.
But the people who you're dealing with the outplacement is that the only difference is they've got a bit more work experience. They've got more self-awareness, and they're able to get feedback from people who have worked alongside them, who have managed them. So you're getting, it's the same theory, but that the richness of the information is greater because they've been in an organization and have got that more experience.
Yes. Something that sometimes happens is that these people, maybe they are like, they decide that they are not going to look for a new job, but maybe they are going to start their own business. And in this outplacement, the Belbin report helps them maybe to see with which kind of people they would have to associate in order to run their business. No, maybe if I'm not, I don't know, a shaper, maybe I will need a shaper to help me, and that's very good also.
Absolutely, that's really empowering information, isn't it, for those individuals?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that this is a really great way of somebody finishing their relationship with an organization that leaves positivity for both parties.
Yes.
So the individual is leaving an organization, but with a very positive feel for them because of the outplacement work that has been done with them. They don't feel they're just being discarded. They feel that they are being looked after right until perhaps their next job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. We've been talking for a while. I would just like to say to everybody that Anna and I share the same top 3 team roles, and I've tried to let my shaper go and try to play coordinator, but it's quite difficult when you have energy that you just want to feed in with all of the time. It's quite interesting. So really, I mean, just to do a quick recap, and then I think what I'm going to ask Anna is for you just to do one takeaway or maybe one particular case study that really resonated. But just to really recap, whilst you can think about what you might want to say at the end, I'll give you some time, is Belbin being used here by a psychologist, somebody with an interest in psychology who has their own HR company, Entrust. And the benefits of using Belbin right at that early stage, get people to understand strengths and weaknesses, where they may contribute those transferable skills from higher education into the world of work. And then also to continue using the lens and the reports of Belbin when it comes to the recruitment. Not just what type of person they are, the behaviours, what they're bringing to the role, how they'll fit within the team, how they'll fit with the manager, getting feedback if possible from other people before that decision is made. But not using Belbin as a pass or fail, but helping it to inform that landscape of recruitment, being able to inform the decisions that are being made, to ask extra questions, and to use again those reports to be used to help with those questions that you're going to ask in those interviews. But not just stopping there, using them again for onboarding processes, to getting people as comfortable as possible into their role. Again, using them when the teams are working together, when the teams are looking to develop. Again, when it comes to people looking internally for the recruitment and giving people support and advice and allowing them to work out where next they need to go, where they need to develop if they weren't necessarily successful. And then at the end, when perhaps there's a parting of companies for so many different ways, especially if people are downsizing, and giving people the confidence to be able to go back into the job market and say, this is me, these are my strengths, this is what I can contribute outside, this is my next step.
Yes.
Wow. So you're helping companies do all of that, sometimes just this bit, sometimes all of it. What part of this, Anna, would you like anything to share? One last.
Maybe what can I say is, well, I'm a psychologist, and we work with lots of tools, and we know like a lot of other tests, and I really love Belbin because it has like this 360 or these things that I said that are like make your work very rich, and also I feel sometimes that this, like in my company, it's like our added value for our customers. It's like something different, something very rich, very human, very positive, and very complete. Many times our clients are like engineers and accountants, and they love the numbers, and when they see all those graphs with the numbers and everything, they also love Belbin because of that. So it's like good for that too. When they ask you technical questions, very, very specific. Also with Belbin, you have like, yes, it's all a solid background in order to show your work, no? And I think that's very good.
Wonderful. Thank you. I love that idea of you're really adding value to your customers through that very human approach and the Belbin lens that allows you to do that. So really, let me see if I can, there I am. So really, Anna, I'd just like to say thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that I've got a lot from it, and I will be looking at the recording. And it's so wonderful that this is during Belbin Week, where we're celebrating the legacy of Meredith Belbin and, all of the work over the decades that give you that confidence of being able to show you're working when you are dealing with your engineers. It's based on solid research that has been ongoing. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. And of course, I don't know if many people know that Belbin was first used in recruitment when Meredith and his team took everything from Henley and went into the world of work. This is how they first used it. It was with graduate chemists, actually, in ICI, and then they also worked with Cadbury Schweppes. So this is something that's been used to help inform those discussions, those interviews for many, many years. Thank you. Everybody will receive recording, so don't worry, all of your wonderful nuggets of wisdom can be played again to make sure that we take everything that we can from your experiences, Anna. And for everybody else, look out for the email. I'll put some sample reports in there and some other things that Anna was talking about for those of you who are less familiar with Belbin, to make sure that you don't miss out. So thank you so much. I think we covered all of the questions as we went through, actually, so I think that works okay. Anna, thank you. Have a lovely rest of the day, and thank you for joining us.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.